Hi, I'm Georgia, the dyer behind Lil Gremlin Knits, and this is my second podcast episode. So, welcome back, or welcome. Today I'm drinking ginger peach again, from Republic of Tea. It's pretty tasty. And we have some finished objects. We have some works in progress. I have a couple beautiful dyed skeins. And then if you guys want to stick around for some life stuff, I have a little of that too. So let's get into it. My first finished object is this cowl. And it's made from a wool and silk blend. You can kind of see the little silk neps. Yeah. And I'd gotten the yarn at Yarnings in Helena. It's a tiny little yarn shop in the downtown walking mall. The proprietor's name is Greg, and he's just the sweetest. And this is how it goes. I had initially wanted to do an infinity cowl, so knit it very long and then like that. However, this past week I had been up in Kalispell for work training, and it had snowed, and my little ears and neck needed cover, and so I said, you know what? We're at a good length. I'm just gonna seam it up really quick, and so I have this like wonderfully squishy like brioche cowl. I think I kind of went off of a free pattern on Ravelry. I'll post that in the show notes. And I think the yarn is Mushishi. I'll post the yarn notes as well. But yeah, so that's my first FO. It's this glorious single ply wool and silk nep brioche cowl. My second, I have a pair of finished objects, because as you may remember, if you caught the last episode, I was going to make hats for my best friend's friend and husband. And so I knit on wool that I had dyed. And so I knit this hat out for Bob, my best friend's friend, and it on the inside was one of the first yarns I ever dyed at a workshop at SAFF, which is a knitting convention up in North Carolina. And then this is just some fingering weight sock yarn that I dyed up to be blue and gray, and it kind of striped, very organic, natural striping. And then I had seen this on, my wife and I, we like to watch home renovation shows. And Good Bones is on Hulu, I think. And it's fantastic because it's a mother and wife duo that are renovating houses that are in really poor shape, I think in Indiana. And it's a delight. And the daughter, was wearing a commercial hat that had this kind of detailing where it had pearl welts with, and so it was striping pearl and stockinette stitch. And I said, I think I could make that. So I made that for Bob. It's a little beanie. I'll show you. Kind of a this look, but you could pull it down, for a little tighter fit. So that's Bob's hat. And then Keith's, my best friend's husband, he's not a huge hat. He grew up in Kazakhstan, and so he's, very used to the cold. And so he's not big into winter wear. And so I said, well, I'll make him something fun. So I made him this. It has a little top, and you can kind of see here these little points. And it's a fun little hat, kind of a pixie hat. And if a person wanted to, they could kind of fold it up. It's And this yarn I actually got at SAFF from a lady that participates in the Shave 'em to Save 'em, which is, if you're not aware, a program that deals with sheep breed conservation. So some of the less well-known breeds that have been commercially used in the past, their shepherds participate in this program. And so people that want to do fiber arts with those wools can get stamps and have a little stamp book. And I think there may be a prize. I don't know. But anyways, the whole point of it is to incentivize spending money on, wool that isn't Blueface, Leicester, and Merino in order to keep these breeds of sheep around. And so this is Shetland. And for those that aren't familiar, Shetland is one of the softer, less commercial wools. That and I think Cormo are very, very soft, whereas some of the wools are more rustic and just a little bit scritchy. So for something that's going to be right up next to like a person's delicate skin on your face and neck, I wanted to do something that wouldn't irritate him. So yeah, so this is the Hieronymus hat. Again, details will be in the show notes, but it's a fun little pixie hat, and so that's neat. And then that's it for finished objects. I have a half finished object. The red cedar slippers. I don't know who the pattern is by, but they've partnered with Farmer's Daughter Fibers out of Great Falls, and to do kits. I didn't use a kit, but that's how I found out about the pattern. And so this is some wool from the polka dot sheep up in Whitefish, Montana, and then the marled brown and cream is some hand spun by Ballyhoo Fiber Emporium. Again, all the details in the show notes. And so these are heavy DK light worsted, and it's like a slipper sock. The really cool details are this corrugated ribbing, and then it called for Latvian braid. I didn't quite have the brain bandwidth to figure that out at the time, so I kind of fudged it, and there's some like purling details. And then I wanted to do contrasting heel and toe, but I wanted to do knit a little bit before and after the heel, just to make sure that it was secure. And so it created a stripe, so I decided to run with it and just do a 5-row contrasting stripe down and that really helped the sock really just fly. These were knit on US 3s. I actually used, new to me, the Addi Flexi flips. And let me tell you, these are like welcome to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Like, they're fantastic. I'm actually using them right now to knit, because I got 3s and 5s because I'm not really into very, very fine sock yarn knitting. And I'm using the 5s to knit, I knit the cuff of the sleeve for the next sweater I'm knitting for my wife, because I'm addicted to knitting sweaters for my wife. But before I get into whips, I want to share what I'm wearing. So this is, I participated in a test knit for Jessie May Designs, and this is her cozy raglan light. Again, all the details in the show notes. And I used a whole bunch of different, I made it kind of scrappy and micro stripey. So this first one is Daydream Fiber Dye Works. Again, everything in the show notes, in the colorway November. And then we have this blue from Republica Unicornia that I got in a mini skein pack. And then this these three colors, the green, or the forest, or Kelly green, seafoam green, and then like this teal, were all, and you can again see them here. So the dark green, the Kelly green, and this this color were our Stroll knit picks, again from a mini skein set. And then the last color here is Hawthorn, a hand-dyed Hawthorn from Knit Picks. And it's supposed to mimic kind of sunset in Oregon, and I will again put the name in the show notes. And so this is a cropped, it falls just about at my natural waist, which is great for high-waisted skirts and wearing over dresses, which is how I like to wear some of my sweaters. And so that's another finished object. So now to move into whips. Last time on the podcast, I did show the Stephen West Starflanket, which I made some progress on. So the Starflanket, for those of you who aren't aware, is a kind of a play on his Starflake shawl. So this is the blanket version. It starts with a star of parallelograms. You knit a parallelogram and you join as you go. And then it has this really fun striping where you then pick up stitches around all of your parallelograms in your star, and then you knit in the round a striped pattern. I fudged it a little because I didn't want to purl, so I did all, Stephen West calls for stockinette and garter alternating stripes, but I just did all stockinette for ease. And this is that November colorway again from Daydream Dye Works. And then the rest of the yarns are a Briggs & Little that I've hand dyed. So I dyed this really deep mustard color, and then I dyed a lighter yellow. And then I have this purple and green, which I'm alternating. So it'll be 11 stripes total, and then it'll go to brioche. And then I think there's an eyelet lace around that, and then it's finished. So I'm further along than I was. I have been using all of my interchangeable cords connected together with size 7 needles, but some of the joins are kind of coming unscrewed despite my best efforts. So I did order a 60-inch circular chow goo off of Amazon to make my life easier with this. This is my first blanket, aside from the Lapgan that I had pieced together. So I essentially knit several scarves and pieced them together for my wife. And then I had mentioned before the sleeve. So the ribbing I knit with US 5 Addi Flexi Flips. This is Terry's, it's kind of Terry's Pullover. Terry's Pullover is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it has, it's not size inclusive, but my wife is smaller than me, and so I'm just kind of, doing it. And so it has these, it's knit in Aran weight, and it has sleeves, obviously. And then it has this really cool portion of a shawl collar with a portion of cabling. And this is my first cabling project. So I decided not to do an all-over cabled sweater, but rather just a little bit. And I think my wife looks just really heckin' cute in shawl collars. So that was the impetus. But I'm using the sleeve, the first sleeve, as a gauge swatch because gauge swatches are for suckers, and that sucker is me. And this is a yarn I dyed up especially for my wife, and because she said she wanted greens. And so I'm using Wool to Dye For. It's a mill out of Virginia. And I can show you the skein, a few of the skeins that I haven't caked up yet. So anyways, Terry's Pullover, but I'm also using the Hurricane Ridge, which is a paid pattern through Knit Picks, because they're very similar patterns, but the instructions on Terry's Pullover weren't exactly clear. And so I'm using the numbers from Terry's Pullover, but the Hurricane Ridge instructions, because they're constructed in the same way as far as I can tell, but the Hurricane Ridge is a lot clearer. So, I don't think the Hurricane Ridge, though, is for Aran weight, which is why I'm using the numbers from Terry's Pullover. So this is one of the skeins. You can see kind of like the moss green and Kelly green. And then I kind of did a wash of, I think brown, to kind of just a brown wash to kind of darken everything up, because I didn't want it to be, you know, very, very Kelly green. So this is one skein. And this is, I needed quite a few skeins, so I had to do this in several batches because I don't yet have large pans for dyeing. And so there is some variation. I wouldn't call this a repeatable colorway, but I have since gotten a better burner, and I'm looking into getting chafing dishes so I can dye larger dye lots, essentially. Because for this, I think I was only able to dye 3 skeins in the pot at a time. So essentially, I have 3 different dye lots for this sweater. So not the best, but I think it'll be fine, because what the yarn is doing, especially on the sleeves, is it's doing this really cool micro striping, where it'll have like 1 stripe of one of the colors and then 2 stripes of another of the colors in the skein. So I think it'll blend well. And if not, I'll kind of fade each skein into each other, because I don't have the patience to do helical knitting for this kind of project. And then the last thing, project that I've been working on, is I have some bulky yarn that I'd gotten from Michael's to do baby hats, baby Santa hats, quite some time ago now. And I'm knitting bulky beanies. I've just started. I got past the knitting and I'm into the body of it. And these are for a charity knitting. One of the ladies that I follow on Instagram, Ashley's Adventures, she does river rafting. I think she's hiked part of the Appalachian Trail. Like, she's really cool. And she had posted that she was looking for donations for people that had become homeless due to COVID, you know, as winter is coming in the Northern Hemisphere here. And my wife and I, we just moved into this house, and we don't have a lot of, you know, liquid assets right now. But I do have, you know, the ability to knit hats like a fiend, especially when they're bulky or super bulky weight. And so I contacted her, and she said, yeah, sure. So I'm knitting up, I have green, white, and red. And so I'm just going to knit some, I found a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'll knit some hats up so that we can ship out a box of those to help folks that are housing insecure in this, like, really trying time. So I had said that I had dyed some yarn. I showed you the green for my wife's sweater. And then this was used as a yarn mop. I'm stealing that term shamelessly from Chemknits on, I think, Instagram and also YouTube. It's zebra fingering. So it's natural white and black wool that's been spun together like this. And I was dyeing, a couple weeks ago, I was dyeing up all the wool for my own personal advent calendar, because I really like the idea of advent calendars, but they're kind of out of my price range. However, I was able to get a mini skein from a set from Wool to Dye For, and I dyed up a whole bunch of red and green and navy and, you know, natural colorways. And for whatever reason, reds the yarn doesn't take the reds as well as it takes like greens and blues. And so I had just some reds and apparently a little bit of blue left over in the dye pot. And so I put this skein, which I had been soaking in, and it knit up, or it not knit up. It took the dye really well. So I might put this away and have it as a giveaway if I, hit 100 subscribers or something. I don't know. But yeah, so that's what I've been knitting and dyeing. And so if you're just here for the knitting content, that's awesome. I will see you next time. And I hope you are, well and stay well until next time. I'm still working on a tagline, by the way. So we're just going to try some out. And if you're interested in life stuff, that's what I'm going to do now. So, oh goodness. This has been a whirlwind of a week, 2 weeks. Between the last time I podcasted and now, I had a gallbladder attack. My gallbladder is a punk. It's making stones and then it's throwing its stones away. So I landed myself in the ER after eating Arby's, and boy, I felt foolish for that. So I met with my primary care provider, and then I had a surgical consult, and so I'm getting my gallbladder out in mid-November. I will try and keep you guys abreast. I did put a little 1 minute micro update because I couldn't figure out how the YouTube community posts work from my phone. So that's fun. I was, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I was up in Kalispell this past week doing training. And so that's why I got so much knitting done, is I just had a lot of free time. But luckily I won't be doing travel in the near future, hopefully. And what else has been happening? My wife's getting her name changed because my wife is trans, and she's actually getting her name changed the same day that I go into surgery. So a mom of my friend is gonna drive me to the hospital, which, oh my goodness. So with the COVID, all the surgical procedures are different. So I have to get a COVID test a week before surgery and then just sit in my house and quarantine. And then no one's allowed in the hospital. No one's allowed to come in with me for surgery. And then the front desk will call my ride home, my wife, when I'm done. But yeah, it's a weird time for everybody. So yeah, but I've watched a whole bunch of laparoscopic videos on gallbladder removal, which if you haven't, they're very interesting. I highly recommend you check it out. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes. And so basically what they do is they make a few holes in your abdomen, and they have a little cauterizing hook, and they have some clips, and it's really interesting. And so what they do is they detach your gallbladder from the liver, and they clip off the ducts that are leading to the gallbladder. And once they have the gallbladder completely free and clipped off, then they put a little plastic bag in your abdomen cavity, and they put it in it, and then they close the plastic bag, pull everything out. And that's because they don't want any stones or bile to spill into your abdomen cavity. And through the miracles of modern medicine, the recovery time is only 7 days, which would I not have access to laparoscopy, it would be much longer. So that's amazing. Sorry, I'm getting a haircut on Halloween, so a couple days. because I prefer to keep my hair short. So yeah. Well, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and consider subscribing. I'll try to post on a regular basis, and if I'm unable to post once a week, I'll put in a little update, like letting you know what's what. So yeah, have a good one.